Welcome to another edition of the post-race wrap-up. Uh, we went to wine country. NASCAR was in wine country for the Toyota Save Mart 350 from Sonoma. As expected, SVG Shane Van Gisbergen qualifies on the pole and was dominant all race, starting with stage one, largely uneventful. Stage one, there's some bumping at times, but largely uneventful stage one. SVG leads pretty much the entirety of the stage until the end, where he pits to flip the stage. Ross Chastain led the group that stayed out. Ross Chastain wins stage one. We go to stage two, obviously SVG, after staying out from flipping the stage, starts out front and again is dominant. There was some spins during the stage, some brief bits of contact. AJ Allmendinger, one of the guys that spun, John Hunter Nemechek spun. No cautions for those incidents, though. They were able to get rolling pretty quickly. Really unfortunate. Dinger, I thought, had a top 10, fringe top 5 car. But with that spin, that really kind of ruined his day. But again, SVG dominant until the end of the stage. He pits from the lead. Kyle Larson is the first of the drivers that stayed out. This is where it got a little bit interesting here. SVG, the gap was so close that SVG came out not that far behind Larson. SVG actually makes the pass on Kyle Larson to win stage two, even after flipping the stage and pitting. So just kind of shows you how fast SVG was in spite of never having been here in a cup car. Finishes second in the Xfinity race on Saturday to Connor Zilisch. Incredible battle, by the way. If you can go back and watch that race, you absolutely should. That was cinema, seeing the 88 and the 9 battle it out for the win. Zilisch has a bright future on the road courses. But SVG wins stage two. One incident that I do have to talk about from this stage came during the green flag pit stops. Ty Gibbs, as he's pulling into his pit, just one spot ahead of Brad Keselowski's pit, he actually hits Brad Keselowski's tire carrier, or rather, he hits the tire that the tire carrier is carrying. This kind of twists the wrist. The crew guy was okay. He finishes the race fine. Leads to a little bit of a fracas on pit road with a disagreement between the team of the 6 and the team of the 54. Some shoving, not really fully a fight, but a little bit of a shoving match. And here's my thing with this. Steve Letarte and Dale Jr. talked about this on the broadcast. You know, Ty Gibbs didn't necessarily do anything wrong getting into his pit stop. I don't necessarily disagree, but I do have to point out that in his post-race comments, right, I think Ty Gibbs was pretty smug in the way that he addressed the situation. Said that he didn't do anything wrong. NASCAR found he did nothing wrong. The 6 team tries to take advantage of the rules. That's just the way it is. It's not Ty Gibbs's job to win fans, but I feel like you could address that a little bit differently. Maybe kind of touch on the fact that, you're just glad the crew guy's all right. There's just and this is maybe me bringing my personal feelings in it. There's a touch of smugness there that I just did not enjoy from a guy who has a history of pit road incidents. Ty Gibbs, if you'll remember when he was subbing for Kurt Busch, was fined for running into John Hunter Nemechek on pit road. This scenario was obviously the scenario at Texas whenever he was fined for it. Gibbs was clearly in the wrong, but he basically runs into the side of, and I'm sorry, I don't think it was John Hunter Nemechek. I think it was Ty Dillon. He runs into the side of Ty Dillon on pit road at Texas, and this is a live pit road where stops are going on, and almost pushes him into, I believe it was the 6 car, oddly enough. Pit crew while they're performing a pit stop. And that was a really bad moment that I thought, frankly, Ty Gibbs should have been suspended for. He's also had trouble for hitting guys on pit road. I think it was in the Xfinity Series at Martinsville with Sam Mayer. I think he got in trouble too. So this is a guy that has history of dangerous incidents on pit road. I think that adds to my distaste with this situation. Uh, I think knowing the driver, knowing the history, the comments afterwards really rubbed me the wrong, because he said that after that Ty Dillon incident at Texas, uh, he was going to learn from it. To me, when you say like I was just following the rules, I did nothing wrong, even though like he hits a crew guy, right? Or he hits the tire that a crew guy's carrying. Uh, he has an open stop in front of him. And these are all things that I'm taking into consideration where maybe he didn't do anything wrong by the letter of the law, but it feels like it's a little bit disrespectful to the spirit of the law for Ty Gibbs. And I'm really going on a tangent here. Maybe it's because I feel a connection with a lot of these crew guys. A lot of them are former college football players. But the crew guys are so vulnerable out there trying to perform stops. I think the drivers have an extra responsibility to be as safe as possible around those pit crew guys. And the pit crew guys know there's risk involved. Like we saw the incident, I think it was at Pocono earlier this year. Maybe it was one of SVG's guys that got hurt. But these guys are putting themselves in harm's way already. If you as a driver have the ability to lessen the possibility of disaster and you don't take advantage of that, and I understand that, there's every little fraction of a second makes a difference on pit road. I know the driver's trying to get in and out as quick as possible. And again, this is probably me reading into Ty Gibbs' history a little bit too much and the reason why I'm so upset about this. But I think the drivers have a duty to do everything they can to protect those crew guys. The drivers are the stars of the show, but this thing doesn't go off without the pit crew guys. The pit crew guys make things happen. I mean, we saw Denny Hamlin win a race earlier this year because his pit crew got him out first, right? Like the pit crews are an essential part of this operation. Maybe Ty Gibbs did everything fine. Maybe it was nothing against the rules, but a driver that has history on pit road, I'm going to take a harsher look at what happened here with the Gibbs-Keselowski incident. So really kind of frustrated with that. But now we move on to stage 3 where Shane Van Gisbergen continues to dominate. We get our first caution for incident. Chris Buescher and Ryan Blaney running side by side up the hill. Buescher kind of loses it, gets into Blaney. Blaney ends up high-sided up the hill. And it was a really frustrating series of events for Blaney. I think he was already upset at Briscoe. And then this incident with Buescher, I think he was just not a good day for Blaney. Kind of indicative of his luck this year in the 2025 season. But this caution occurred outside of the pit window, so you didn't really see anybody active on pit road. We go back green, SVG leading. We get our green flag stops. First real full cycle of green flag stops. Obviously, you had some guys that stayed out before the stage breaks. This is the first full cycle of green flag stops. Not really any incidents, but guys are running. It looks like SVG's kind of run away with this race. And then Cody Ware loses a wheel at the top of the hill and brings out another caution. We restart with 11 to go. This is where things get extra physical. Noah Gregson gets spun. I think that's 7 up there. Just as you get into the S's, I think that's 7 at Sonoma, and it was a bit of a cluster there. Ryan Preece got some damage out of the incident, ends up going, but that pretty much ended Gregson's day. So you restart again, and as is the case at road courses, it continues to get more and more physical. We restart with 7 to go. Ricky Stenhouse ends up in the tire barrier courtesy of contact with Ty Gibbs. I was not a fan of Gibbs's actions in this race. I'll just put it that way. And again, this may be tinted a bit by his previous history on pit road, but a little bit of a frustrating race in my mind with the 54. So we go back to caution, then we restart again with 4 to go. And the storyline here is after that first caution for Cody Ware, Chase Elliott pitted for tires, so he has fresher tires than SVG in the lead. Was Chase Elliott going to have enough time to get up there to Shane Van Gisbergen and push him for the win? We restart with 4 to go. Hard contact with Larson and Blaney, but that doesn't really result in a caution because both guys keep rolling. Although I thought there was going to be a caution just given the amount of debris up there in between. Again, it's hard for me to keep track of what the turns are actually called. I think it was 3A and 7 there, where you get to the top of the hill and then you start heading back down towards the S's. In between there, that's where Larson spun and Blaney got collected. No caution. One really interesting incident. Josh Berry dumped the hell out of Carson Hocevar heading up the hill. I mean, it looked like it was a pretty obvious turn left. Maybe he's wheel hopping a little bit. Maybe I don't know exactly what happened, but the 21 turned the 77. Really not surprising given Carson Hocevar's history of incidents this year that somebody felt it prudent to not really cut him some slack. Of course, again, this is theoretical on my part. It could have just been a loss of control going up that hill where the cars are super light anyway at Sonoma. But regardless, Barry and Hocevar get together. It spins Hocevar around, kind of ruins a little bit of a rally as Hocevar had spun and gotten off track, I think, multiple times earlier in the race. But stay green. SVG, just another dominant road course victory for the driver of the 88. It's insane how good he is when we turn left and right. I mean, just a really, really impressive performance for Shane Van Gisbergen. That's his 3rd win of the year. That makes him tied for the most wins on the season. And again, all of his have come at tracks where we turn left and right. So he is a little bit pigeonholed there. But I'm comparing Shane Van Gisbergen's dominance on road courses. It reminds me of, and this was before my time, before I started watching the sport, but it reminds me of like going back and watching replays of UFC 1 when Royce Gracie brought Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to the forefront, and he's grappling all these strikers, and this little guy in this gi is choking all of them out or arm barring them. And they really just don't know how to counter it. That's what it feels like watching Shane Van Gisbergen's run of dominance at road courses. I mean, his talent is just unreal. I think it's a perfect storm of NASCAR has added more road courses. NASCAR also, this next gen car is closer to the supercars than you look at somebody like Marcus Ambrose back in the day. And I also think Shane Van Gisbergen is just so naturally talented. Right, he was a dominant force when he was racing supercars in Australia. Comes over, and the Kiwi has just been so good since he stepped foot. You come out in your first race and you win at Chicago. I mean, it's just super impressive for Shane Van Gisbergen to do what he has done. Some people are probably going to complain about his spot in the NASCAR playoffs, but he's won 3 races. Right, I hear the fault with the system and when you're in, but it's very clear that Shane Van Gisbergen is the best talent in NASCAR on the road courses. Maybe Zilly will have something to say for him whenever he gets up, but I think we're just watching dominance right now, and honestly, as a fan of the sport, it's fun to behold. One other interesting thing that happened at the end of this race, we have the in-season tournament going on. Ty Dillon up against Alex Bowman, happens to be right on his tail going into 11, the last corner at Sonoma, and Ty Dillon moves Alex Bowman out of the way and advances to the final 4 of the in-season tournament, something that I don't think anyone saw coming. Really cool for that 10 team. They were pumped about it. Ty Dillon's stoked. $1 million on the line, so we'll see if he can advance to the championship round, but really cool to see Ty Dillon have that moment. One of the big talking points out of this race, are there too many road courses on the schedule? I think people brought it up with Chicago last week too. I think 6 is a sweet spot. I think 6 is a good number of road courses. I'm obviously biased. I want to keep Circuit of the Americas on the schedule. I think you keep Sonoma and Watkins Glen because I think both of those road courses are iconic. They've been part of the NASCAR schedule for so long, I just don't see them going anywhere. You look at the Mexico City race, I thought that was pretty great, even though Shane Van Gisbergen was dominant. I thought you saw a lot of fun racing there in Mexico City. The Chicago street course is great. We've heard rumors about that going away and maybe Chicagoland making a comeback, maybe San Diego getting a street course. I mean, I would love to keep Chicago, but I think having one street course as opposed to a road course is a good balance. I don't think we need multiple street courses, but I think having one street circuit on the schedule is great for NASCAR. Uh, you look at some of the other road courses that are available out there, and maybe you get like a Road America rotated back in. I think that was a really cool spot for NASCAR to race at. Uh, Obviously, you have the Roval, which personally I'm not a fan of, especially with how good this car runs. Like, I think the Coca-Cola 600 earlier this year was a fantastic race. With how good the next gen car runs at the mile and a half tracks, I would rather see them run the traditional Charlotte circuit. Uh, However, you know, I don't want to go back to Charlotte and then not have another road course on the schedule. That's why I think like I Road America, a Mid Ohio. My pipe dream is Laguna Seca. I don't think that's ever going to happen just because of the noise regulations and things out there. Uh, Maybe like a Barber Motorsports Park, Road Atlanta. Again, Road Atlanta is probably not going to happen just because of the proximity to Atlanta Motor Speedway already having two races. But there are some fantastic road courses scattered around the nation that I'd love to see NASCAR visit in place of that Roval race. Again, if the Roval were to move back to a traditional Charlotte format. Uh, so, do I think that there are too many road courses? No. Frankly, I think like 6 or 7, a great number. It's not that large of a percentage of the schedule. You have plenty of other ovals out there, which is still, again, oval should be the heart of the NASCAR schedule because that is what NASCAR grew up as, right? Like you're racing stock cars on oval circuits. That needs to be the majority of the schedule. But I think you can have 6 or 7 road courses, and that's perfectly fine. We go back to an oval with our next race. We're going to the Monster Mile, the concrete canyons of Dover. Really interesting track. The racing hasn't been great here of late, but it's one of my favorite tracks on the schedule just because of how unique it is. Really excited to see the cars at Dover. Going to be interesting to see what the tires do, which I'll bring up when we talk about the preview, because they're bringing a new tire compound, but there's been no tire test. Could make things interesting. Either way, stay locked into Apollo for your source for NASCAR news from the Bayou City, and we'll catch you next time.